Welcome back to the Social Media Sobriety Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Bermundo, and to my right is Lauren Ritchie. And Lauren, please tell the fans why you came in today.
Yeah, well, we had a class together last year, and I think you may have overheard me say something about how I deleted social media for a week. And then that really sparked our conversation of, kind of why'd you do it, what benefits and kind of effects has it had. And ever since then, I feel like we've talked a lot about social media and the impact it's had on us. And since then, I've become the social media manager for some sports here at KU, and I would say I've fallen in love with it again, but that's also come with, being burnt out of it, and I've learned a lot about how it's had positive and negative impacts.
And joining my left is a man who's no stranger to social media sobriety, although you've probably never actually seen what he looks like, Charles Lachman. So Charles, please tell the people a little about who you are, where you're from, and what you want to do.
Well, first, thank you for having me on, Tyler. It's a pleasure to be back in the podcast. Different studio, same feeling though. I am Charles. If you have watched or listened to, I should say, the earlier episodes dating back up to 2 years ago, you probably heard and recognized my voice. I am a junior from Dallas, Texas. I am a sport management major. A couple things about myself. I work as a student ambassador for the School of Education and Human Sciences, very active in KU Chabad with Tyler. We met through a different Jewish organization, but we both are very involved in Jewish life here. I am the founder and president of KU Pickleball, and I'm very proud of it. I know we're going to talk in today's episode about this. I am very fond of networking, and I treat that very seriously with my professional side.
You said fall in love again, so tell me the first time I guess you fell in love with social media.
Yeah, so I've always really had a passion for filming videos. I mean, I made YouTube videos as a young kid. Who doesn't love the video star and all those things that we had back then? So I really enjoyed doing that. And then, of course, being on air is kind of my end goal, and didn't really think social media. I would say in the last 2 years, we've seen it grow in a way where that's where people are getting their information now. You're not turning on the news to watch. Social media is where you're gathering your information. So that's grown, and that's a huge role that a lot of jobs are looking for people to do their social media. And I would say I'm pretty on brand with all the current trends. So I tried it out in a way that I've never gone in depth. I've just enjoyed posting for friends, family, but never running an actual account and having to keep up with it. And so once I did that side of things, I was like, okay, wait, I kind of like this whole content thing. And now getting to do it as a job is a lot different than when you would just do it as a young kid for fun.
Right.
So I've seen the different side of it, and I would say I've fallen in love with the content part again.
I want you to tell me a little bit more about what exactly you do. You mentioned you work social media for a couple teams. What are those teams, and what are kind of your daily tasks?
Yeah, so I run our women's basketball and then women's and men's golf teams here at KU. And a little bit of a backstory, I think 2 years ago, I was on our student-run sports show, Playmakers, and we do a lot of on-camera things, but we also have an Instagram page on the side where we've got photographers, videographers, and we're able to post our clips and stuff for people to see. And when I started covering games, football, basketball, whatever it might be, they were like, hey, can you run the social media? So I was live tweeting, putting out Instagram pictures, and was like, wait, I kind of like this. And I will say social media is not for everyone. I have a very complimentary personality for social media because it takes, I would say, a type A person, an organized person, someone that can accomplish those things. So I was like, I'm going to keep trying this, fell in love with it. And the opportunity kind of came to me when everyone in the athletics office had seen me covering sporting events for 3 years now, and they're like, hey, what's your plan your senior year? And I'm like, I don't really know. They're like, we want to kind of see if you want to try this whole social media thing. So it came at a good time because I was like, wait, I actually do enjoy doing this. Yeah, I will give it a try. And I'm really happy that I said yes to that, because 2 years ago I would have told you absolutely not. Why would I want to do social media, this toxic platform, for a job? But I'm able to tell stories and, make people look good. That's kind of the whole point of the job too, and it's fun to kind of see the rewarding parts when, people are complimenting, oh, this page looks good, like good content stuff. It's like, wow, thanks, like I did that, or like the things you see, you're like, I made that. So it's very rewarding again.
Okay, and then now going through that timeline, we did talk about that little time off you had of social media. Talk to me a little bit more about that.
I don't know exactly what sparked it. I think all of us are like, man, I'm gonna just delete Snapchat. Like, this is so toxic, this and that. And I was like, wait, like, it can't be that hard. Let me just try it. And so I ended up deleting just off my phone for a week. I wanted to see how that went, and I was like, it's actually a lot easier than you would think. I didn't find myself wanting to open the apps because I knew they weren't there. I was finding things to keep me busy rather than scrolling on my phone. And then it kind of became a habit. And now I'm hardly ever on my own accounts, maybe because I run other accounts. And so I'm going in there, posting what I need to do, and kind of getting off. So it kind of tricked my brain in a way that I would say I don't need to delete them now. I'm very good about not feeling like I have to be on them and end up like doom scrolling or whatever.
So Charles, the podcast with me, you can find all those back on Spotify. It's on the same exact account, but you'll see it was a completely different format. And back then, Charles, we had a little bit of a different opinion, I would say, on social media. At least I did personally. And although I have re-downloaded some stuff, you've kind of stayed true to what we talked about, which was a true social media sobriety.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to bring up alcohol in a good light here. When I came to University of Kansas, I didn't drink because I was very afraid of alcohol. And then when I had my first, real drink, I realized, hey, I'm still not going to drink, but now I'm not afraid of it. It's just a value that's firmer in me. I'm not sitting here afraid of what's going to happen if I drink. So I feel with social media, Tyler, both you and I developed more of a consensus of our values where we're not sitting here really afraid of what's going to happen if we're spending a ton of time on social media. You've shaped your life around those values and have found how to use social media productively. I've done the same. I know that social media and things, they're more of a distraction for me, and I like my life without them, and I've been able to be pretty successful without them.
And going back to, you said your love-hate relationship. Now I want to hear more about that hate part.
Yes, I think now actually being the face behind teams, no one knows exactly who's posting the content. So I see the comments and everything, and as much as you try to ignore them, I don't interact with them, you still see them. And it's weird being that face behind the page, but no one knows who it is. And even it's not directed towards me, it's directed towards the team. But I still feel like I'm the one reading them and taking them on behalf of everyone. So, I mean, the hate part is just the way people use it. It's not to be used, like, they don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We're all working really hard to make sure that you're seeing what you're not seeing because you're not at the game physically.
Right.
So I just think the hate's just, there's horrible people out there trying to use social media to hurt people, and it's not needed. So I would say the hate's just the part where I feel like people are using it for the wrong reasons, and that's just a terrible thing.
In a class I'm in right now, it is the psychology of addictive behaviors. We study a very common concept that it is the dose that kills you, not the drug. And so what that means is that it's not about what we're doing. It's about how much of it we're consuming. So for people that are sitting on social media watching a minute-long clip of this podcast, for example, that's not detrimental use of social media. But somebody that sits on social media, as we've talked about before, for like 9 hours, that's a high dose. That would be detrimental use of social media. So it's all about how you use it.
Now for the other side of, I think, your social media use was probably more of the networking side and be able to actually get these jobs in the first place. Do you think someone can actually land a job in a journalism field, a sports field, with no social media presence at all?
Do I think it's possible? Yes. Do I think it's likely? Probably not, but it's not impossible. I think us journalism, or even college students in general, LinkedIn is a really big platform for us. That's how we connect with the professionals out there. And, like quick example, a couple job interviews I technically landed through social media platform. It's how I was able to reach out to them. And then if you really want to get into it, it's like I'm able to show them my work, things I've done on social media. So if I'm applying for a social media job, they're like, hey, we want to see your social media work. So I show them that. That's technically using social media. And a lot of we have our own websites. I think there was a class where we had to make our own personal website.
Right.
And I still use that to this day. Like if people want to know what I'm up to, all the things I've done in my 4 years of college, it's on my website. So ultimately, I think what people want is the experience, and they want to see your work, and you have to do that through social media. But there's also like career fairs and a lot of in-person things that a lot of people probably don't take advantage of because they're like, I can do it from behind my screen, So I definitely think it helps, but I do think it would be harder to do without social media.
So Charles, I guess give the people maybe some advice, or even if it is possible, to get these jobs without being on social media.
I'm very close with the director of sport management here, Austin Begina. I'm close to him for a couple reasons. The biggest one being I'm a student ambassador with the School of Education and Human Sciences, and I give presentations with him to prospective students. And through that connection, we started kind of almost a mentorship program. Now, he doesn't meet with a ton of students in a mentorship way. A lot of his students go into his office hours, but he recognizes that I'm busy. I recognize that he's busy, and he's willing to set aside some time once every 3 weeks or once every month where we meet. And after I started growing, of course, I started taking his advice, taking his guidance, doing the things I needed to do, going to career fairs, knowing what questions to ask, blah, blah, blah. We could say a million things on that. But eventually, I dealt with someone in the NFL industry that I had a decent connection with, and some things had prospered in that connection, but the connection turned out to be very transactional. I went back to Dr. Begina, told him the story, and he offered me a few business cards of a few people simply because I told him, you know the person I am, you know I'm going to make the most of any connection. And where I sit with that now is I am in the application process, and my application's been submitted, and I'm in the talks for getting a position with the Chiefs this summer. And the way I got that has nothing to do with being online. It has to do with I emailed these people, I told them who I was, I told them about the relationship with Begina, I told them about some experiences that I've had, which I'm also going to dive into, and I got a meeting with them. I knew how to carry myself, I knew how to present myself, knew what questions to ask, knew how to connect with people, and I was offered an ability to apply for these positions that you can only apply to if you know someone high enough up in the industry for an NFL team.
And what social media will never be able to do is give you that one-on-one connection with the person who's being hired. So yes, I think it's great for exposure. And if somebody sees what you're doing, if you're promoting your own work, big positive. And I think it can help you stand out. But in my head, a hiring manager is going to take the person they met and actually had a great experience with any day of the week. I would love to hear your kind of thoughts on that.
Totally. They're, making a good first impression, also very important. Really easy to do behind a screen. You can think about your answers and all those things, but actually seeing a person, it makes you feel more personable, and definitely you would be someone that stands out more if you're, going in person, shaking their hand, dressing appropriately. I think it's the little things that we don't think about when we're, behind a screen. So yes, I definitely agree. They would take someone in person any day of the week, but especially today when you're applying for a job, hundreds of miles away, you don't maybe get that chance. And so having the resume and portfolio of experience, I think is important. And I guess back to your point, is LinkedIn a social media? Well, you can DM someone, and I've had, maybe one bad experience where I get kind of a hateful DM, and it's okay, why are you using LinkedIn?
That's crazy.
But so to me, it's like bad things can happen on social media. So I would consider it a social media platform, but it's different. Like we're not using it to, like I feel like all of us are posting our professional experiences on there, and we're trying to, like, when we want an employer to see our best work, we would want them to go to our LinkedIn.
Correct.
So, but yeah, in person is much more valuable. I think people have a much better experience actually getting to interact with someone. I mean, you may think someone is all great over the phone, what they're saying, but you don't know if they're being sarcastic or if they're being straightforward or if they're have any sort of humor at all. And that's all answered, I think, when you're in person talking to someone.
I'm going to give you an answer that doesn't fully answer your question because there is no black and white answer here. LinkedIn is social media if you use it like it. If you sit there scrolling over people's profiles and spending a ton of time, again, just kind of doom scrolling, just kind of looking all over the place, I think it can be bad. But I think more times than not, people's intentions on LinkedIn are better than the general intentions on Instagram. AKA with LinkedIn being so professional and people posting things like opportunities they've had, experiences they've done, connecting with others in professional industries, I think more people they're more productive with it. It's not where they sit there for 30 minutes and then they're like, oh, I just wasted 30 minutes of my life like more people do with Instagram. I think more people on LinkedIn hopefully use it more productively. And I'll say for myself, I know you if this were the old podcast, you'd jump in right away on this. I had my old problems with Instagram. I'd sit there for a couple hours and I'd be on it. With LinkedIn, I just don't have that problem. I don't ever feel like I'm wasting my time. I feel good about connections I have on there. I feel good about posts I see. I never really feel left out. In fact, the only post I ever see frequently that makes me feel quote unquote left out is one that makes me feel motivated. Makes me feel like, hey, like this is an experience that one of my peers is going to do. I want to go do this now too.
How do you keep in touch with friends? You mentioned not seeing a picture from someone every day, as stupid as it may sound. What does that do for your relationships?
I noticed that maybe when you're not I've got like a good group of girlfriends on Snapchat that I will snap. I'm not on it very often and it may be a couple times a day, but seeing them feels as if you're talking. Like I already know probably what she's doing or thinking based off a picture. So as much as it's like it sounds stupid and it sounds toxic, it's a great way because I'm a busy person. My friends, we're all in sports. We have different schedules. We're busy from the moment we wake up to the time we go to bed and we maybe can't see each other. So seeing them feels as if I saw them that day and spent the day with them. And then when I do see them, it's like no time has passed. Versus someone, if you're not seeing them or if they're not posting on whatever platform, it's like, wow, I feel like I haven't seen you in ages because I truly haven't. Versus someone that, like my best friend, we don't see each other every day, but even getting a singular Snapchat from her, I feel like is just as if I'm with her.
Do you feel like any regret from not having that, or there's your answer right there, but please elaborate.
No, and Snapchat changes people's values, in my opinion. When you send meaningless things, you start to subconsciously believe that meaningless connections are fulfilling. And I'm very happy looking back, knowing that I never trained my brain to think that meaningless pictures one-on-one were so important and could keep a relationship alive. I guarantee you, everyone listening to this podcast right now has taken a picture of their face and then deleted it 38 times, trying to think of a single photo that looks good enough. And I am so happy looking back on things, again, that I never trained my brain to think that that was a priority in communication. And to learn that the way I spoke, the way I presented myself, time in person were those priorities and not things that Snapchat does promote, which is sending those meaningless back and forth photos.
So I will tell you something that Lauren said is she has friends back home, and I guess she lives in Olathe, but okay, like, just say she has friends somewhere else, and she says one snap a day is kind of her reason to reach out to people. And she also doesn't have like streaks with a bunch of people. It's really the people that she's close to or close-ish to or her family that she gets these from. Is that maybe a good excuse to kind of be on Snap?
I actually wouldn't use the word excuse. I'm going to refer back to something we talked about earlier in this interview, which is that as you get older, it is up to you to figure out how to learn how to use something for the best of your ability. Again, it's not the drug that kills you, it's the dose. So if you're using it at a dose that suits you well, that helps you become a better person, or in this instance, helps you stay connected to the people you want to stay connected to, good for you. If you're able to do that, and that makes you the best version of yourself, go do it. So for Lauren, that's great for her. I wouldn't call that an excuse. I would say she's maximizing her ability to stay connected with people. Now for me, I know that that's not how I would treat that. Any sort of dose on Snapchat wouldn't be good for me because that's not who I am. I wouldn't function well with that. So I think for Lauren, it's about her understanding herself, and for me, it's about me understanding myself.
When you see people on social media, it almost makes everyone feel like a friend in a way. And when I deleted it, I got rid of a lot of the fake people in my life and a lot of the people that I never really connected with, yet I still spent a lot of time sending stupid messages and stuff like that. So do you feel like your friend circle changed, or maybe even go back to your week you were off everything? Do you feel like you talk to more of the people you care about and not as much as the outside noise, or do you kind of have just a big circle of friends and that didn't affect it?
I would say something you also learn is kind of like who your true friends are. It's a two-way street. You have to both communicate. And so I'm curious too, also, like after graduating college, you know, we're not all going to be here. We can't drive somewhere and meet up. So it'll be curious because you're going to have to work at those relationships. So that might actually be texting or making plans. And I would say if there was a stretch where I wasn't talking to someone, I didn't know what they were up to, and then it kind of just one day would pass by, and then 2, 3, 4 days, and then it's like they're not someone you talk to every day. So I think unfortunately deleting it can lose people in your circle, but they might also be people you want to have long term. So texting, of course, is the best way to do it, but sometimes there might not be anything to talk about, and so feeling that communication is simply through a picture.
That's so interesting because I've had that same experience with Snapchat. I didn't really want it, but I always thought of it as I have to snap someone a day, and I never wanted that need to talk to someone that I really didn't care that much about compared to like my really close friends. I would kind of say, please don't name drop them, but do you have anyone that, or any kind of group of people that you just snap because it's there? Or is there like a different category for that for you?
You know, honestly, not really. Maybe a couple years ago, we were all kind of like, who has the most Snapchats? You know, who knows the most people? And now it's just from a close group of friends. Like, my mom is up there because I want to see pictures of my dogs from back home. And Snapchat is a great way to send a quick pic and kind of see what's going on back there. But, you know, honestly, it's just college people that I probably do see quite often, so not random people. But I would say the older you get, maybe the less people you Snapchat, and it's more so just to stay in touch with somebody other than texting words.
And that's kind of what the tagline of this revamp was, mostly sober, because I did have the old podcast and nobody really knew about it. And honestly, it was pretty rare, unless I hounded someone through text, they would actually like watch it and then give me feedback. And for you kind of just reached out and said, hey, like, I love the podcast. I'd love to be on. So I think I'm totally in agreement. I think we have different uses, different ways of thinking about it, but it goes back to that same principle. What are you going to do with this tool that is social media?
Yeah.
Are you going to let it consume you? Are you going to doom scroll? Or are you going to actually use it to your advantage? And I think that is just such an important message. And again, Lauren, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I would personally vouch for her on any job. Like, I've known her for a couple years. She's committed, hardworking, and also fun to be around. So
The same goes for you.
thank you, Lauren. I appreciate it. And if that's it, I would just say thank you for listening to Social Media Sobriety, and we'll see you next week.